So hi, welcome to Noise Podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm Glory.
And we're here with
Anthony.
And Joe from Capstan.
There are some questions to say about the upcoming album, The Mosaic. So congrats on that, by the way. How do you guys feel about the response to the announcement so far?
Honestly, I think it's been pretty well received to this point. Kind of a lot of different reactions to each single that we've put out so far.
Yeah, but I think each single showcases how different this album is when you listen through all, 19 songs? It's so goddamn long, but it's also so good. So I can't complain.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's 18 tracks. Yeah, it's been a long rollout. And like Anthony said, kind of every track is very different, sort of. We're kind of trying to keep people guessing, but that's just a big part of our sound and who we are. So we're really excited. But so far, yeah, everyone seems to dig all the tracks in their own different ways. But it's what's kind of funny and kind of cool too is that like some people who really like a certain track, like a heavier track or something, maybe don't like the next one as much, but then it comes back around again and they're like, oh, okay, cool, there's another heavy track. Like, so yeah, it's been fun to kind of watch and see what people think too.
Hell
yeah. Album is fucking incredible. It's so fresh. I thought I loved your last release, but then I listened to this and I was like, holy shit, you guys just keep doing amazing. Very, very well done.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Of course. So is there any meaning behind the album title or cover art?
Yeah, so it's actually kind of triple layered there. So there are, aside from the traditional like art of a mosaic, like the medium of art that is a mosaic, like a tile based picture, the second definition of it is like more or less coherent whole formed by varying different pieces that are not exactly similar, right? So like the fact that there are 18 tracks and it spans a lot of different genres, and like if you heard certain tracks just individually here or there in a vacuum, you might not think it's the same band even, like, and but as a whole we still feel it makes a cohesive album, like when you listen to it all the way through, an hour long or whatever. So we thought it really worked with that, but then it also symbolically it's also a metaphor about like who you are as a person, like defining your life, every like good or bad moment, everything that you've experienced in your whole life, whether awful or joyful and wonderful, is part of the picture that makes you you. And so like there might be, once again, like spots you could zoom in on and like see some terrible nasty things, but as a whole, what is the picture that it creates? Like, does it create something beautiful ultimately? And then so to top it off, we actually we're like, well, why not like drive it all home and have an actual mosaic artist make a mosaic as the artwork for it as well. So, and then I think Scott found Elenia Roma is her name, she's from Italy, like found her on Instagram and like just hit her up, and she does amazing work, and like this is my favorite album art we've ever done. So yeah, it's kind of a triple meaning. So and it's kind of funny because it all sort of came out more or less by accident too. So like we weren't like intending to make such a I guess conceptual kind of record even when we were doing it all, and then it all kind of just fell into place. So it felt really natural. So it was great.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited about it. And I think the coolest part, and we still have yet to open it, but we have the actual mosaic with us. So we will be opening that soon.
She shipped it over to us. Yeah, it's in like an Indiana Jones like museum box.
Yeah.
Gotta crack it open.
That's awesome.
Damn. So with the title, did you guys come up with that before or after the album was finished?
Well, before the album was finished as a whole, but it was close to the end of like we were still like finishing up the last couple tracks, but like most of it had been like written in. Scott and I kind of came up with the idea for the name, just like bouncing ideas back and forth about like basically everything I touched on, like the whole idea of, you know, the record being like a whole, but like very fragmented parts that are quite starkly different from each other. And yeah, like I said, it just, we're like, oh wow, that really works.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Oh yeah. So can you guys tell us a little bit about your writing process for the album?
Yeah, absolutely. So usually it, like, the way we start writing a song is going to really vary depending on the type of song it is, right? So like the more metalcore and like technical ones, or like the more riff based songs and stuff like that, usually tend to start on like an instrumental level, either just me or Scott writing like an intro riff, or like something like that, writing like drum ideas and like rhythmic stuff, and like sort of bouncing it off back and forth between each other and like fleshing it out, and then usually adding vocals sort of afterwards, and then adjusting whatever parts we need to kind of fit vocals. But then other tracks, like some of the maybe slower or more like traditional like style, like there's like the more bluegrassy kind of acoustic track on there as well. Like songs like that kind of get written from the reverse standpoint. So like maybe starting with just like an acoustic guitar and like vocal ideas, vocal melody ideas, lyrical ideas, whatever. And then really trying to flesh out the instrumentation around it in a way that like supports the vocals and stuff like that. So yeah, it kind of depends, because like like some of the songs, like I tracked all the guitars myself, like we recorded it ourselves as well, and like sometimes I get really into like the technical aspect of, like I said, with the more metalcore stuff, and like, but then other songs are like kind of, I like recorded in like, you know, whole like one take chunks and stuff, and like kind of left some of the flaws in there to keep it more natural. So like I said, like with doing all the different styles that we play around with, yeah, it varies so much the way we approach writing, really. Like the intro track, for example, like that one was like one that got fleshed out more later, but like Harry started that one with just like the guitar, just simple one rhythm guitar, and like the vocal idea, and then like we kind of fleshed it out as well. So yeah, and I will just say too that that's like one of the biggest things we enjoy about writing, and like getting to do this record that way is like being able to really embrace all the different styles of music that we love, and like be able to write in, you know, so many different lanes.
Yeah. And it sounds like it's just one big collaborative process. Like each member kind of brings songs to the table. There's not a quote unquote songwriter in the band, one or two. Everybody brings ideas.
Pretty much. I mean, I have, if anything, I would probably have the least to do with the writing process. If anything, I'll just bring ideas of production, even if to the table. But it's mainly only dealing with the vocal melodies or harmonies even. But I would say the big chunk of the songwriting is done by Joe and Scott, and then Harry too. So.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah, all the lyrics on this, except for like one or two like small parts, were written by me and Harry, and then instrumentally as well as like it's primarily me and then Scott, but like Harry does write. Like I said, he's like a chord progression guy. He comes in with like a great chorus with like, you know, he's got the chords to it and all that stuff, but like he's not like the riff writer and like stuff like that. Like Scott writes more like guitar riffs than like Harry does, even as the drummer. So, but that's like a common thing.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure. Sounds good. So what song off this album took the longest to write, and which one is each of your own personal favorite?
So definitely the last track, which I believe is like 10 minutes long. It's called The Mosaic. That definitely took the longest because of the length of the song. So that was, I mean, it's almost like three parts within one song. So that definitely took the longest to record and to write. But I would say that is also my personal favorite because it encompasses the entire record in one go, in my opinion. So
for sure.
Hell yeah.
It's hard to say, honestly. I mean, I think all of us in the whole band would probably say the last track, the title track, The Mosaic. But I will say that honestly, my close second to that really is is Bloom, one of the earlier singles we put out. Like, that song just holds a very special place in my heart.
Hell yeah. So how'd the track list for the album come about? Did you guys write the opener be the opener, closer be a closer, shuffle around and see what fits? What was that process like?
So the intro track was one of the first tracks that was written for the record. Like I said, Harry came to the table with that one pretty early. And then like I said, we didn't originally intend for it to be kind of such a concept record that it turned out to be, or necessarily so thematic, right? But as we kept writing and just letting all these songs like kind of form and develop, we decided we really wanted to return to the melodic and like lyrical content like of that first song and expand on it, and then in other ways too. So like there's a middle track and then the end track, obviously, which we mentioned, both have like, they are completely tied to that intro track too, right? So, but that was not the original intention as we were, writing the record. And then but the middle track came out and then we're like, okay, well, kind of got to do this. So, but yeah, the order of like the other tracks, like part of the reasons why the record is so long is that we kind of just kept writing songs, even as like we had like 10 or like almost 12 songs done, but we had like starts of like 4 or 5 other songs that we really liked. So we're like, we can't stop here, like we have to like bring these other songs to life. So, and then some of those, like, it was funny because normally we've had many discussions about like track order, but for this, it was just kind of like, there seemed to be, because of the lyrics too and everything, there seemed to really only be like more or less one like logical order, if that makes sense. At least it did to us at the time. We're like, these tracks can only really sort of go this way. And there were like, I will say there were 1 or 2 songs where we basically just like flipped them back and forth where they were. 2 of the heavier ones at the end we did that with, but more or less we're all like, like it's just the order kind of makes sense this way. Like I will feel like there's kind of a progression to it with the lyrics as well, like throughout.
Hell yeah,
makes sense. All right. So would you guys be able to tell us where your headspace is at while you're creating this record?
Well, I was definitely busy, but it was mainly when vocal tracking came about and us getting into it. It was practicing the songs and studying, the parts and just being really ready to get into the vocal booth and go and give it everything that I had. So for me, it was almost like it was anxiety driving, because it's like, I don't, I want to be there, I need to show up, and it's harder than you think sometimes. But I was just excited to bring the songs to life, mainly, especially not being a core songwriter or anything like that. It was just like, this is my job, this is what I need to do, and I need to do it well. So that was kind of where I was at. But
yeah, and we're all very proud of Anthony. He fucking we feel like he got the best vocal performances he ever has. Once again, like I said, we recorded it ourselves, so like normally like we would have an additional producer in the room that wasn't there. It was like really all us, and like, really all just kind of like figuring out how to do the best we can like on our own. And I will say we took our time too. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Like so the whole writing of the record and then the recording process as well was the longest we've ever done. So like from the time we started seriously writing the record and like I mean like working like regularly, like several times a week, if not like basically full time, until we recorded and started recording it, that was over a year. And then the actual recording process, because we had the ability to take so much time, and like ended up being, it took us just over 6 months to actually like record the whole record. So yeah. And we did like take little breaks and stuff there, because like I said, we did it all on our own. But like but I will say that, so the biggest driving force for me being like having written the bulk of the lyrics for the record is during that like writing process, my fiance was pregnant with our son, who's now over a year old. Harry was expecting his daughter Cora at the time too, and our bassist Boz as well was an expecting father. So like we all had kids, we all had like that. Like I mentioned that song Bloom, like a lot of that like I wrote like kind of inspired by like my son and my fiance, and yeah, I think us all becoming dads, or most of us becoming dads, had a big like influence on the writing process and all of that, and definitely I think to inspire us, like Harry and I both feel like we did our best like collabs and team ups like lyrically on this record as well and all that, like so I think yeah, that big major life change really impacted the way this record was written.
Absolutely.
I would say you can hear it in the songs for sure.
Yeah. Being able to record the albums yourselves, was that like a positive thing for you, a negative thing for you? Because obviously you're so damn close to the thing, you might not know when it's time to hang it up and move on to the next thing. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah,
I think
absolutely. Go ahead, Andy.
I was just going to say it's an absolute blessing to be able to have that in our hands. 100%. I feel like we aren't rushed for time. I feel that every single person in the band cares so much. So if we do end up getting hung up on something, it's just like, okay, if you might not like this part, but if someone doesn't have something better to bring to the table that we all can agree on, we kind of mold each other into, hey, like, it's going to be fine, this is going to be great, and then we move on. So I think that just to speak to that is one of the main reasons why I love it, because I'm not stuck. Oh, we only have 6 weeks we only have, this much time in the studio today. We have to figure this out before we leave, or this or that. So that really helped in that process, I think, for that. But yeah. I loved it because, it's right down the road. Exactly. We can take our time, go home if we have to, come back. That's the nice part about it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I will say, like, having all that extra time, not having the time constraints is so wonderful, because it leads to so many extra avenues of like creativity. Like I took my time like recording the guitars, and like I come back to like little places, and like I would take extra time doing things I wouldn't normally do. I did like more like glitchy edits and stuff like that, and like kind of like some new stuff I haven't done, but it's because I had the time to do that, and that was great. And like, as awesome as that is, and I love it, at some point though, I will say that does become the only bad thing about it, is that it becomes easy. Like I said, it took us 6 months to record it, and that is a bit too long. Like, because you do get to a point where you will spend too much time on like a tiny little detail. So that's like the one drawback. But other than that, it's fucking amazing.
Hell yeah. All right. So how do you guys recommend your fans listen to this album for the first time? Should you do it in the car with friends, in dark with headphones on? Is it a workout album, party album? What do you guys personally recommend?
I would say headphones. Headphones, yeah. or long drive by yourself, but start from beginning and go to the end.
Yeah, that's the one thing I will push as well, is that, like, we're album people. We like the album format. We're like listening to whole albums. So like, yeah, it's definitely, please just listen to the album as a whole, whether you're like, and I know that's hard to do, especially when it's an hour long. That's why I said, like, in the car, that's where I get to listen to any music personally. But yeah, I mean, headphones, if you have time. I don't get too much anymore, but one of my favorite things is like just like laying down, eyes closed, like with a nice pair of headphones on, and like listen to music, some over ear. But yeah, probably not a party album.
Yeah, but fair enough.
Yeah.
Some party songs though.
Yeah, got some rages on here.
Exactly. So this one should be super, super quick off the top of your heads. I want you guys to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words. 3 words each, 6 total, no more, no less.
I would say heavy, soft, and beautiful.
That's good. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Unexpected. Long. I'm hurting for good adjectives right now. And honestly, maybe it doesn't make sense, but one of the main lyrical themes of the whole record, I'm just gonna say love.
Oh, that's good. All right.
I like that.
Hell yeah. And in that same
train, my backup.
And in that same train of thought, is there a certain feeling or emotion you want listeners to have while going through the album?
Yeah, I mean, just really one of the biggest things, about this record is like I said, well, love and just like wanting to leave more of like a positive. I don't know. That sounds so cheesy, and cliche, right?
Growth, growth.
Because I think especially with like the last record, a lot of the lyrics like come from like previously have been I would say a bit more. I don't want to say like dark, but like I guess like Anthony said, growing, moving past the shitty stuff in your life, and trying to literally just make the positive impact, make the changes that you want to see in yourself too. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah, I love that. So, are you able to touch on any particularly challenging or standout moments from the creation of this album, positive or negative?
Recording, I guess, just like the vocals over such a long period of time. I think that were, especially like some parts that really got like pushed for a lot of us, and that were very difficult as well. I don't think any of the other like production or writing parts really, like I said, a lot of it came out very naturally. We just took a long time. But then I will also say, I think there was one song, like I mentioned, the song What Can I Say, that was the sort of the problem song, not like that song took it was the last one to get finished, because that was the one song that it was like so different. Like the previous version was nothing like that, and that was the one song that definitely had the most like not arguments, but like conversations where like some people like didn't like the song, like wanted to cut the song, or like and then we just completely changed. Like, if you could have heard the other version, you'd be like, wow, that is not the same song. But
very different.
Yeah, ended up loving what that song became. So yeah, that's definitely, if I had to point to a moment that was like the hardest to like, sort of like resolve, it would be that.
Right. Anthony, anything?
Oh, I would just say I agree with Joe. That song was completely different, and I'm just glad that it got ironed out to be what it is now, because it is. It's hard because I did say the Mosaic was my favorite track, but this is. Every time we talk about another song, I'm like, yeah, that's one of my favorite tracks on this record.
So for this question, we want you to picture you're on tour, you're at a gas station for a rest stop. What is your snack of choice?
Ooh, Gardettos.
It depends on the time of the day.
Yeah,
if it's in the morning, it might be, they got the little chobani with the fruit on the bottom, a little pack of the Greek yogurt. That's pretty good. But if it's late at night, I might have a couple beers. It might be just taquitos off the roller.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right.
Wait, so what'd you say? Gardettos?
Yeah, Gardettos. They're like the breadsticks, pretzels, and the little brown rye chips. I don't know if you ever had them.
No, I've never. Shane, do you know this?
No.
Wow. Okay, you should. That's crazy. Yeah, check them out. It's just like a trail mix with like, it's kind of cursed, to be honest.
They're awful. They're terrible.
Sounds like a trail mix without like the fun. The fun meaning,
exactly.
M&Ms. Yeah.
But the brown little rye chips are my favorite.
Damn.
Yeah.
I always pick those out in Chex Mix. Those are my least favorite.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. But I'm glad you enjoyed them. So on the topic of food, if the band was a dish, what dish would the band be and why?
Oh. I would say a crawfish seafood boil.
Oh,
there's so many different things in the pot.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I like that.
All right.
Locking it in.
And
it's a gumbo.
A gumbo.
Yeah, something like a gumbo. Yeah.
Perfect.
Bunch of flavors. Yeah.
Yeah. And for the last couple questions, we're going to shift completely away from music. So, if you could be one animal for the rest of your life, what animal would you be and why?
I guess I'd be a tiger because they got some cool stripes.
There you go.
All right.
Just because of the stripes? Hell yeah. I mean, I get it. That's fair.
I think I would want to be like some sort of bird. I don't know, maybe a crow, maybe like a macaw out in the wild, like a parrot in the jungle.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Hell yeah. All right. So if you could have lunch with any celebrity or artist, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's tough. I don't know. You got anything?
For me, I don't know. It's always like I go straight to the musicians. I don't know, like, but then at the same time, it's like, what do you consider a celebrity?
Mm-hmm. That's a great one.
Is Jesus a celebrity?
I mean, he's got a whole book about him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah. So probably him.
All right.
I was like thinking in the lines of like Beethoven to be like how to like see how he did it. You know,
I thought you were gonna say Freddie Mercury.
Pretty cool.
No, just like hearing his piano pieces, it's like I would really like to sit down and be like, how'd you come up with this?
How were you cooking like that when there was not much music around before that?
Yeah, and not to mention like the things that he had at his disposal. No computers. No, how do you orchestrate a whole symphony in your head and only on paper using a piano?
And I'm pretty sure he ended up going deaf, did he not?
I think so. Later, at least like in 1 year.
Later in his life.
In his life, yeah.
So I would like before he's deaf, so he could hear one of my questions.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, he would. Yeah. By the time he went deaf, he was already such a master that he literally just had it internally.
Just wild.
Okay.
It's cool as hell.
That's insane. Yeah.
And for this last question, boom, you're on a desert island. You can bring one movie, one album, and one person. Who and what are you bringing?
Shit. Only okay. Definitely. The movie is going to be Pineapple Express.
Damn right. Seth Rogen. Love that guy.
Mm-hmm. The album, I think, is going to be, honestly, this is insane, but it might be. I got that question sucks. I'm just throwing it out there because it's the first thing that popped in my head. I'm going to say The Black Parade by MCR.
That's good.
And then the one person, it's only one. It's my baby, Charles. I can't. My little tiny baby.
Perfect.
There you go.
I would say for me, the movie would be. I had this whole time to think, and I was just excited to hear Joe's answer. The movie, off the top of my head, I'm just gonna say Pulp Fiction.
Ooh.
The album, which I thought of right away because I know if I'm just with one other person on an island, it's going to be kind of wild, and I feel like this album would help me feel a little loopy. I would say Pink Lemonade by Closure in Moscow.
Oh.
And person would be Carly, my lady.
Perfect.
There you go.
All right. And as I said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything that you guys would like to plug?
Just go listen to the Mosaic, listen to the whole thing front to back. Just all
May 24th.
Like an hour of your time.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, thank you for
Share it. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you for this, guys. It's been Anthony and Joe from Capstan, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.